welcome to the advanced question on our Quidio number 3. My name is Lee Pound, and question states, an insurance company estimates that it should make an annual profit of $150 on each homeowner's policy written, with a standard deviation of $6,000. What reasons may contribute to such a large standard deviation? I said, the standard deviation or variance might be so large due to a higher or lower number of claims filed that year. The cause for that could be anything from natural disasters to better home security systems. Natural disasters thus raising the number of claims filed, and better home and security systems lowering the number of claims filed. Part B asks, if the company writes only 2 of these policies, what is the mean and standard deviation of the annual profit? So in order to find the mean, all that we're going to have to do is take the number of policies written and multiply it by the already known mean of $150. So if you want to know why, we know that the profit from each homeowner annually is $150. We have 2 policies, which means there's 2 homeowners, and 2 homeowners means that $150 profit on average from both. So if we take the $150 from the first policy and add it to the $150 from the second policy, we should get $300, or 150 times 2. The standard deviation is a little bit more complicated because the standard deviation cannot be added to one another, because we know that the standard deviation is the square root of the variance. So it can't be added because there's a square root in there. So what we can do first is add the variances of both policies together. So the variance of policy 1 is $6,000 squared, plus the variance on policy 2, $6,000 squared, gives us this large number of 7,200,000, I think? Yeah. And so there we have the total variance, and then we take the square root of that, and it gives us a standard deviation of $8,485.28. So just to recap, we got the standard deviation by adding our variances together from both and taking the square root, and we found our mean from adding the means together from our homeowner 1 and homeowner 2, which gave us a mean of 300 and a standard deviation of 8,485.28. Part C is very similar to Part B and asks, if the company writes 10,000 of these policies, what are the mean and standard deviation of the annual profit? So again, let's address mean first. We know that the mean is a sum of all of the average profits from each homeowner. Or we could say that the mean is just the number of homeowners times that $150 average that we already know. So what we could do is approach it like we did in Part A and just add $150 10,000 times. I don't know about you, but that seems really time consuming. So another way we could do that is just do what we did up here and say there are 10,000 policies written, and multiply that by the mean that we already know of $150, which gives us a mean of $1,500,000. Next, we can address standard deviation. We know our standard deviation is the sum of our variances under the radical. So we could approach it like we did in Part A and just add the same variance over and over again 10,000 times, or we could take our variance of 6,000 squared and times it by 10,000. So if we go ahead and do that, we get a standard deviation equal to the square root of $360 billion. And so if you do that and take the square root, you get a standard deviation of $600,000. Part D just simply asks, is the company likely to be profitable? So if we go off our values that we got in Part C of a mean of $1,500,000 and a standard deviation of $600,000, we can answer this question by taking the z-score. So the z-score is found by taking our mean expected value, so in this case 0, and subtracting the mean, which we already found, and then dividing all of that by the standard deviation of $600,000. So once we do this and we plug in all those numbers, we get a z-score of negative 0.25. This means that the profit of 0 or none is 2.5 standard deviations below the expected profit. Another way of stating this is saying it proportionally. So the probability of getting an x value less than or equal to 0 or a z-score of less than or equal to negative 0.25 is 0.0062, meaning there is only a 0.62% chance of earning no profit. So we would be fairly safe in saying that it is highly likely that the company will be profitable.